So this is an account from a soldier who ended up in a hospital full of other soldiers because, of course, he was wounded. I was carried into a room where 12 beds stood so close together that one had the impression of a room entirely filled with snow-white pillows. Most of the wounds were grave, and there was a commotion in which, in my feverish state, I dreamily participated. Soon after my arrival, for instance, a young man with a bandage wrapped round his head like a turban leapt from his bed and started speaking to us all. I thought it was some rather extravagant sort of joke, only to see him collapse as suddenly as he'd leapt up. His bed was rolled out through the dark little door, amid a rather grim silence. Next to me lay an officer. He had trodden on an explosive in the trench, and the contact had caused a long tongue of flame to leap up. His mutilated foot had been placed under a translucent gauze wrapper. He seemed to be in a good humour and was happy to have found a listener in me. On my left, a very young ensign was on a diet of claret and egg yolks. He was in the very last stages of emaciation. When the sister wanted to make his bed, she picked him up, light as a feather. Through his skin you could see all the bones in his body. When the sister asked him at night whether he would like to write his parents a nice letter, I guessed it was all up with him, and indeed, later that night, his bed too was rolled through the dark door to the dying ward. So it just gives you an insight into the horrors of these hospitals full of terribly wounded, suffering men, or many of them in a dazed state from infection or from the pain or just from the thing that had happened to them.